let's check out this new video about Howard Lutnick, kind of covering the whole Howard Lutnick thing. This should be a good one. This should be a good one.
I am increasingly disgusted by the way this is all a big joke to liars like Howard Lutnick, who deceived the American public about the status of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
That guy was there. I wasn't going.
Now he testifies under oath that he actually went to the island of the creep and brought his kids.
We had lunch
Jesus
on
Christ.
the island. That is true, for an hour.
Is that his wife, by the way? That's his wife there on the right hand side, right? She looks very uncomfortable throughout the whole thing. I think that's his wife. Imagine having that before your name, the Honorable Howard Lutnick. He's not honorable at all, mate. He's the opposite of honorable. Honorable Howard Lutnick, you know?
And we left with all of my children.
Nevertheless, every time Epstein is brought up, this guy can't stop chuckling. Here's Lutnick laughing again when Trump is addressing a question about Epstein.
To talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation.
I don't know. I could ask you that question.
He thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever heard.
I think he's doing that in order to look unbothered, right? He's doing that to look unbothered and make it seem like it's not that big of a deal. I think that's why he's doing that, like trying to appear like, you know, whatever. But Jesus Christ, man, like get yourself in order a little bit, or maybe it's just a nervous tick. Yeah, pick up. Yeah, if it's a nervous tick, maybe it's just it's a nervous tick. Yeah, true. It's a strange response. A strange response.
And maybe it's because they really think we are buying it. Maybe it's because they think, hey, we're just going to get away with this. We can just keep, it's so, the lies are so brazen, so audacious, so in your face.
But to be fair to the Trump campaign, to be fair to MAGA, that's kind of like the brand, isn't it? It's kind of a big part of like Trump. It's a big part of the Republican Party nowadays, lying. It's kind of what they do, isn't it? They just say stuff and then that's it, you know? Like it's almost like, it kind of reminds me of like, what's that Steve Jobs thing they used to do? It was called is that reality distortion field? I think that's what Steve Jobs was, right? Steve Jobs had this thing where his leadership skills was when Steve Jobs was alive, he would have these really harsh kind of like deadlines, right? He could rule an iron fist. But I remember, I think in the book, the Walter Isaacson book on Steve Jobs, there's a section where someone talks about how hard it was to work with him or work under him. And one of the hardest things was that he had this like reality distortion field where if he gave you a deadline about some crazy feature he wanted in an iPhone, he expected it to be done like on that deadline. And the deadline, doesn't matter how unrealistic it is, he wants it done. And they used to call that his reality distortion field. He had no concept of like time and how long it actually takes to develop things and test things. So I just think that's what they kind of do now, you know. To be fair, politics at large is all about lying, but I think inherently the Republican Party, they seem to have like a thing about lying, you know. It seems something that they don't really seem to care too much about, because Trump obviously is, you know, is a guy that doesn't mind, you know, adding a bit of like, you know, a little bit of soul, a little bit of paprika to the story, to the accusation, to the claim, to the allegation, you know, whatever. So I think it's just what they do.
That it is actually funny to them. And you know what? I have to agree that the way the FBI and DOJ have been treating this is a joke. Because we just talked to a congressman who passed the Epstein Transparency Act. As part of it, the DOJ was supposed to release all the Epstein files with no redactions except for survivors. That didn't happen. Several of the survivors' names were left unredacted, and several of the perpetrators' names were left redacted.
Is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. The title of this one is Child Trafficking. Co-conspirators. Fully redacted.
But in response to criticism that they had over-redacted, they said, hey, we're so transparent, we're going to let you guys come and see the unredacted files to the congressman. The problem is, guess what happened when those congressmen showed up? The unredacted files, many of them were redacted underneath the redaction. There were 2 layers of redactions. By the time the DOJ got them, they were already redacted. So what they're looking at is an unredacted, redacted copy of the Epstein files.
Honestly, this is so shameless, man. Honestly, this cover-up is fucking shameless and right in front of everyone's face. This is fucking fascinating to watch from the outside in. It's fascinating and so depressing at the same time.
This is at the same time that the FBI has a government project to build a next generation redaction tool where they claim they need multi-layer redaction management. And you can see it here where a representative talks about getting to see the quote unredacted files. He says the search function didn't actually work. Half the stuff I was looking for was still redacted. We couldn't write on files we brought in. We shared 4 computers for 435 members of Congress. So what is this actually? This is transparency theater. This is not real transparency. It is actually a joke. Here's another joke. The FBI just concluded again that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a ring for powerful men. But when the public was asked about this just the other day, 94% believe that he was. So obviously there's a huge gap between what the FBI says they believe.
I wonder, why is the FBI so hell-bent on making sure that everyone knows, or selling this idea that he wasn't running an international sex trafficking ring and it was just something that he did himself with Ghislaine Maxwell for shits and giggles or to get their rocks off? What's this refusal at not acknowledging what the evidence is saying? Like, god damn it, man.
And what the public, who has now at this point seen most of the same files, say they believe. If anything, the FBI, by definition, would have access to more evidence. And yet, with the files that we already do have, 94% of the public say, yeah, Epstein obviously was trafficking. But the FBI, of course, isn't investigating new parties. They say there's no evidence for it.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay, even if you believe what he says, Jesus after the revelation that the FBI themselves thought there were 4 co-conspirators in the previous draft indictment, they later said they thought they had 10 co-conspirators. Now you're supposed to believe, nope, no women were trafficked to any of these people. Epstein was working alone. It might be surprising to learn then that the DOJ and FBI under Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, who ran on the idea of releasing these files, have not talked to people who say they were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein. This was brought out 2 different times. I want to watch both of them with you because it's astonishing to hear someone say, we have no credible evidence on other perpetrators, only to learn you never talked to the women who were allegedly trafficked.
At the age of 14 and 16 years old, and they called to meet with the president and to meet with the FBI and to have people investigate their claims. Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met with them? You said you haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to invite
Is the
all
answer yes or no
leads.
to whether or not you met with these women who were abused and
any insinuation by you or any
What
people
is
on
the
your
an-
side that I am not manhunting child traffickers, just look at the
Mr.
stats
Patel,
and you talk
Mr.
about
Chairman,
cover-ups, man.
Mr. Chairman.
That's a good way to fucking not answer the question, isn't it? That's a good way to not answer the question. This moral indignation, right? It's a good way to not answer the question. How dare you suggest that I don't think it? Brother, answer the fucking question, man. Answer the fucking question. This fucking guy.
Talk about cover-ups.
I'm going to stop it there. It just devolves. He refuses to answer the question of, did you actually meet with these women? Luckily for us, some of those same people later showed up at another hearing, this time in a hearing with Pam Bondi.
Survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand.
Jesus Christ, this is brutal.
And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice.
Fucking hell. Everyone puts their hand up.
Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand.
Oh my
Yeah, it's honestly shocking to see.
Oh my God.
There's these people who are claiming to be victims of Epstein. The DOJ and FBI have consistently said, look, we want to take all available evidence. We just need the evidence.
And we have continuously and publicly asked for the public to come forward with more information. If there is, we'll look at it.
And then it's like, well, did you interview these people who say they have evidence? Well, No, actually, we didn't. This comes up again.
Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and estimate and evidence?
No one putting their hand up.
And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone.
I love how she's not looking up, by the way. Big up Pam Bondi. I love how she's not looking up. Look, she's not looking up the entire time. Fucking hell, lady.
How many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence?
Now, I think the guy is Virginia Guthrie's brother. I'm pretty sure. Big up Keepy. I think the guy is Virginia Guthrie. Guthrie, however you pronounce her name. R.I.P. to that. Yeah, R.I.P. to that woman, man. Tragically passed away. But yeah, I think that's Virginia Guthrie's brother. I'm pretty sure. or like a relative or something. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, what can you even say to that? This is a DOJ. This is an FBI that claims to be interested in getting to the bottom of the Epstein files, except when actually asked, they cover up,
exactly.
They redact, and they don't ask for victim testimony or evidence. I mean, how can you possibly say you've reached a conclusion as to an investigation when you literally haven't talked to the people who would be a victim of said investigation? Furthermore, how can Kash Patel say under oath, without perjuring himself, that there was no credible evidence that Epstein trafficked to anyone else, when internal emails to 710 director's call, it says approximately 4 to 5 victims accused other adult men of abusing them. There was not enough evidence to federally charge these individuals, so the cases were referred to local law enforcement. Again, there's a huge difference between there's no credible evidence.
There is no credible information. None.
And we couldn't pull charges. I mean, that's a totally different thing. And in that case, isn't the whole point to investigate that? Isn't the whole point to call more of the people saying they have evidence? Isn't that your job? How can the FBI, the DOJ, conclude definitively that Epstein wasn't trafficking to anyone when Jess Staley, during a UK court hearing in 2025, admitted to having with a member of Epstein's staff? He, of course, described it as consensual. But internally within the Epstein files, there's accusations against Jess Staley. One of the files alleges that a victim was left with body marks after an interaction with the former Barclays boss. The disgusting Mr. Staley, if anyone ever calls me Tinkerbell again, I will lose my mind. Which I know sounds weird that Jess Staley would allegedly refer to a girl as some type of like Disney character or cartoon character, but this is consistent with email exchanges. Jess Staley says, "That was fun," to Jeffrey Epstein. "Say hi to Snow White. What character would you like next?" Epstein later asks, to which Staley replied, "Beauty and the Beast." Epstein responded, "Well, one side is available." Now again, I'm not saying these emails would be enough to charge Jess Staley, but to investigate? Almost certainly. It's definitely unconscionable to say there's zero evidence of Epstein trafficking to anyone.
There is no credible information. None.
How can that possibly be true when some of your files say 4 or 5 victims accused other men? So it is just totally insane to me the way we are all treating this, where the people in power whose job it is to hold these people accountable, they want to laugh about it, they want to joke, they want you to smile about the whole thing. This actually came to a head when one reporter asked about the survivors.
But I think it's time now for the country to maybe.
Look how angry he got. He got so mad.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about.
Gotten
You are
justice.
the worst reporter. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile
Well,
on
I'm
your
asking
face.
you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's,
You know why
Mr.
you're not
President?
smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth.
It's honestly baffling. I mean, how are we supposed to act during the Epstein files when we hear about these horrific stories? Are we all supposed to be like Howard Lutnick, just guffawing, laughing it up? How are we supposed to treat this travesty of justice? And again, I want to restate for the millionth time, This is not political, no matter how much the DOJ and FBI try to argue that it is. The person we're about to watch questioning Pam Bondi is a Republican. But anytime you say anything negative about the Epstein file handling, which was run on by this administration, they either bounce to, well, you must hate Trump, or the Democrats didn't do it last time, so we shouldn't be expected to do anything either. And you're about to see more of that.
Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Red-handed. There was one redaction out of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700, and we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Literally, we caught you guys redacting a co-conspirator's name. I mean, there's a lot more than that they redacted, but it's like, for them to say, oh, what? Oh, it was just one name. We put it up when you said so. When you caught us on our 4 computers we allowed you to use with redactions on top of redactions. And Pam Bondi's performance here was so bad that at one point she's being asked about, like, are you bringing any more indictments? Are you investigating anyone? And she jumps back to some pretty bizarre talking points.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even?
How did she get this job, man? Like, who is this lady? Like, how did she get this job? Like, where did they find her? Where did Trump find this lady? Like, where did they find this woman? Like, how are you in? I just don't understand. Like, anyway, let's just play the game. How?
Investigating.
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
And none of them.
Isn't that the opposite of how you meant to answer a question in that sort of setting? I'm going to answer the question how I'm going to answer it. No, you should answer it how I am asking it, no?
None of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing.
The Dow? Is she talking about the S&P 500? What? Donald Trump? She's losing the plot.
You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking.
Excuse me? Excuse me? What a tangent. What a weird way to answer the question. We're just winning so well. We're doing the economy. The country is booming. The economy is like, there's money on the streets. There's literally money raining down the streets. Americans are rejoicing. You shouldn't be talking about this shit. It's like, huh?
Talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Yeah. Are you kidding?
No, I do want to know, what does the Dow have to do with Jeffrey Epstein victims? I truly don't understand that. So yeah, this whole thing was a complete disaster of a meltdown. They're treating it as an absolute joke, and they criticize you if you don't smile, like Howard Lutnick when he's caught lying about the Epstein files. And while I can't personally muster that kind of energy, I do want to talk about some more of the revelations in the Epstein file. Like, the most noteworthy is that Trump called the Palm Beach Police Department immediately after Epstein was arrested, according to a police chief that was interviewed in 2019. He says back when he arrested Epstein the first time, Trump called him and said, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." Saying about Maxwell, she's evil, and to focus on her, according to the police chief, Trump was one of the first people to call. Julie K. Brown said that when Trump called the chief, it was after the Epstein story became public, when Epstein was arrested. This actually goes a long way to explain Speaker Mike Johnson's previous comments that Trump blew the whistle to the FBI to stop Epstein.
He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down.
It's obvious that he probably just misunderstood that it was an FBI interview of a police chief, and that at the time it was the Palm Beach Police Department handling that.
LOL at Trump being an informant, man. That would be such an interesting twist of the story, isn't it? Trump was actually a confidential informant. Oh my God.
And I think that even for the people who say, okay, that's just because they had a falling out over real estate or anything like that, I think it undoubtedly is a good look for Donald Trump and clearly something they're going to hang on to as more of these files get released. We also have something that kind of goes the other way. Remember the Wall Street Journal birthday book story, which Trump said is absolutely false and he's suing over? We have a B-Day book update sent in 2002 when the book was supposedly drafted. And we see LM for blank, George Mitchell, Donald Trump, Henry Jarecki, and Leon Black, which definitely undermines his case, defamation case, against the Wall Street Journal.
So
I
that
think
book was
another
real.
interesting component of this was realizing that Jeffrey Epstein was secretly buying motion-detected hidden cameras that record, and one of the people who said they were installing them said they were installing them into Kleenex boxes.
Jesus
There's another
Christ.
email from Jeffrey Epstein where he claims to need a button camera for the Sultan. Once again, highlighting that this case about Jeffrey Epstein is also a bizarre case of
Fucking
power.
hell.
Who did this guy work for? He talks about going to an SCIF, which might be an acronym for a sensitive compartmented information facility. Later, he says that Ehud Barak is with me. You would have loved my tech meeting in the SCIF. This is an intelligence term, which is usually something you need the ability to receive classified information for, although it's not clear.
Yeah, you have to have high level of clearance in it to be in those type of meetings and shit. How's this guy like in these rooms? Fucking hell, man. Mossad agent for sure, for real. Like, God almighty.
Because later Epstein says that his house is similar to an SCIF. So the connection to the government is not exactly bulletproof. I don't want to give the false impression that it was. But it does raise a bunch of questions. Like Bradley Edwards, one of the victim's lawyers, actually speaks about this in his book. He said that this bodyguard had been sent by Epstein to Virginia to CIA headquarters. Nervously telling me the story, the bodyguard said, I don't know why I was there, but he told me they would take care of me. I attended a class for a week. At the beginning of the class, everyone had to introduce themselves. There were 45 people. 44 were in the CIA or some other government unit with top secret clearance. I was the only private citizen. So clearly there's some indication, some testimony to the fact that Epstein may have had access to either classified briefings or he had some pool with the CIA. Now, we might know about this because there was actually a FOIA to the CIA about Jeffrey Epstein. Ironically, it was from Jeffrey Epstein. This is Jason Leopold saying the Epstein filed FOIA requests with the CIA in which he sought documents that would show that he had a, quote, open affiliation with the CIA between 1999 and 2011, and NSA for documents relating or referring to himself. Epstein did not receive any records. Instead, he got GLOMARS. That just refers to a term that basically they neither confirmed or denied it because they said that doing so would reveal, quote, a classified connection to the CIA, and thus the CIA cannot confirm or deny the existence of records responsive to your request. Therefore, you may consider this portion a denial of your request pursuant to FOIA exemptions. More specifically, they say, we searched the CIA originated responsive records that might reflect an open or otherwise acknowledged agency affiliation. So these are also the important questions we need answers to, but it's...
Jesus Christ, man. The connections are deep. It explains why there's so much cover, why no one will probably get arrested or convicted or charged or anything, you know what I mean? This guy's tentacles were deep into every fucking part of like American government, you know, law enforcement, whatever else it may be. Like, he was everywhere, worldwide as well. Sultans, this, that, royal family in Norway, like Africa, like, god damn, bro. God fucking damn. Proper crazy shit, man. Proper crazy shit. But it's unfortunate for the victims. Like, you know, the sad thing is that these victims won't get any justice. That's for sure. The justice the victims will get in terms of they're not going to see any of the perpetrators in prison or anything. I don't think so. But at least they're going to suffer a lot of reputational damage, which might, you know, bankrupt a few of them. So that's probably a good thing, I guess, going forward. But, you know, they'll probably figure out another way to put money on the table, you know, crash out on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok and shit. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll see what's going on. But yeah, big up Voidzilla, big up Coffeezilla, man. Excellent video from him. Excellent video from him.